one keep going, and I've got no control over the show, but if it keeps rolling for, the full length of time, let's try and do the show. But of course, that was all for naught because the guest couldn't call you.
Right, that's right.
So long story short, Gia opens the door to the booth and she goes in, and this is just when I realized something. I'm going through the gear. I've pulled the computer out that had the pop spilled all over it, and I realized that the pop didn't actually go into the computer. The computer was still fine, but what had actually happened is one of our cats, one of our lovely cats.
I used to foster cats with feline leukemia. I had 11 or so when we first got married.
Yep, and the good old Crash kicked every single one of those sick little kitties out.
No, don't listen to him.
Out into the snow.
Don't listen to him.
I still watch them out there. They're all bony and emaciated, and they're like, feed me.
No, don't listen to him.
Well, anyway, Gia, of course, because Gia is Gia, she left the door to Kate's booth open. And when I'm going down through my cables on the back of the computer, I've seen that one of these cats has chewed right through my headphone cable.
Right. So
there was actually nothing wrong with the show. There was
right.
nothing wrong with the computer, and I just had the added bonus of spilling pop everywhere just to really infuriate me, I think. And then, of course, I realized that one of the cats has done this to me for the 900th time because this cat has a problem with chewing.
Yeah,
and actually, and actually, I got to say that cat isn't out in the snow.
She's still here.
No, still here. Yeah, I got rid of the other 10 that didn't do anything. Idiot.
No.
So anyway, Gia's got the door open, and all you hear from me is, effing cats. and that
was the end of the show.
That's right. The clip just stopped there for whatever reason, and we got that clip, and
yes,
it's classic.
Oh, that is, and it's my face hurts just thinking about that because if you know my husband, well, this is, he can laugh about it now. But, at the time, oh my God, this is the end of the world. And, so.
I was going to gut that thing and string it up and stretch out its skin and wear it as a hat.
And anybody that got in the way, it was, he gets pretty serious about little things like that. And so, yeah, but it was good. And that's just, some more of the memorable moments we have here on Straight Talk. But, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But, we've done a lot. Like I said, the Taylor Family Trust was born from our guests that we've had on the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, one of our guests had remarked about the network that we had built, after like the second year of doing shows and the types of guests that we had on, and that, I used to always talk about my philanthropic work that I used to do. Always children and animal based, globally and things like that. And they had suggested that, I start something that would kind of network all those kind of guests that I had that did that same sort of thing. So, in fact, it used to be a requirement on Straight Talk when we first interviewed for guests.
That's right, too, yeah.
That they had to have some kind of charitable affiliation that they could discuss that we could promote on the show. Right. That was tied into whatever the topic was and things like that. So, and I think that's actually how we came upon finding Mark Brown, an active dog.
I believe you're correct, yeah.
Right. So, but, after a while, it just became, the topics just became more serious, too, as the world events became more serious. And it's kind of hard to find a charity or an organization or things like that for some of the things that we were discussing, and like bullying and, things like that. So,
sure, yeah.
It was no longer kind of a requirement, but, I always do inquire of my guests, because when you reach a certain stature in your profession, to me, I've always believed there should be a point, that you give back, and it doesn't matter what our, fiscal status has been. I've always gone by the third rule, and whatever, we do have, a third of that gets put back into the universal kitty and given back in whatever way that we can do that.
Right.
So, I've always been a firm believer of that. So, yeah, I've always made sure that, whoever that we had on there had that kind of,
coverage.
Or at least desire to. Ashley Page, that was a hugely poignant turning point show for my husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a a bikini designer to the stars.
Right.
And, of course, I was all excited because we were having a bikini designer come on our radio show. And then, of course, 10 minutes into the show, I realized, well, shit, I can't see anything.
She's on radio. He meant to say shoot, too.
Oh, that's
Bleep
right.
that out in post. Yeah.
Oh, I'll just do this.
Yeah, okay.
That makes...
Well, at least it's not the second one.
Makes everything all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Ashley came on, and he was all excited. And, and then when he realized he was on radio, he's like, well, this is going to, suck, because what am I going to talk to a bikini designer about? This is Kate's meet. She's into the fashion and all that stuff. And then she comes on and just, like, completely and totally blows him away with, her story of how she came up and how she came to design. She became a bikini designer to celebrities, but she started out designing bathing suits for women who've had mastectomies and things like that. And that's how she got involved. So, and we found out just how deep, she was. And, a great many of the things that she spoke to, I was actually, had been laying on my husband since we got married. And it was like a year and a half into our marriage. And, and he started having that kind of
epiphany.
Yeah, epiphany to awareness and changing his, thought consciousness and elevating a bit and stuff, and
absolutely.
Yeah, not that it's not still about bikini chicks for him, because it is, don't get me wrong. But, he does it in a more evolved way now. So,
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
Do you have any, like, causes?
Yeah. But, it's true, because the guests, we've done a great deal. We've been told for, the guests that we've had on as far as promotions and things like that.
Sure.
But they have had a huge impact on us and our growth and the growth of the show and the integrity of the show and our own personal, kind of substance that we go for. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. Got to agree.
Definitely. And, I love to hear from our listeners that do follow us and listen to us on a regular basis. And they tell me, wow, this guest, she could have been talking directly to me, or, his life is so similar to what I went through, or, that one inspired me. And now I think I'm going to do this,
Well, and going kind of backtracking a little bit to working out the format for Straight Talk, for example, when we did the revamping and we changed it to Kate and Crash, and we went and focused more specifically on celebrities within the entertainment industry as a whole. We had conversations like, well, if we're going to have these guests every week and we're going to have them call in, and we're finding that these stories that they're coming from and that they're telling are so many people relate to them, so many people listen to the episodes. Maybe we should actually entertain having people call in and ask something of the guests. And we realized pretty quickly in kind of going through that in a little bit of a pre-production kind of idea that wouldn't work.
Right.
And, while so many people would be calling in and relating to the guest and, sharing experiences and all that kind of thing.
Well, we did try that, and it jammed up the Skype.
Right. And you lose 7 hours when your show's only an hour and a half.
And then the John Sheck show, all his girl fans crashed the chat, and
that was nutty.
That was when we stopped pre-promoting.
That was like having Elvis on that guy.
So
yeah, that was nutty.
It was, and after that we stopped pre-promoting as far ahead as we used to, because it was just overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
So it was better to not do the live thing and just have them on and then promote it once it was done, so we couldn't have those kind of crashes.
And especially after we got that 22 internet station and 3 bricks and mortar station network syndication that we got in 2011.
That's right. That's right.
We had noticed right away, I don't remember specifically if we had anybody of note on that particular week when we first did that, but man, as soon as we got put out to those other stations, including bricks and mortar in Milwaukee, Los Angeles, and Dallas.
Dallas, right. Mm-hmm.
We were putting our stuff out, sometimes over a week ahead of time. Join us on the 23rd. We're going to have, Weird Al Yankovic or what have you.
Right, exactly.
And And we were getting quite busy and slammed in live broadcast chats and on our phone lines and our Skype lines and everything as it was. When that happened, when we went over to that 25 station network, it was uber nuts.
Right, and it's so odd because even with the time difference, sometimes we were, played early in the morning or super late at night or, rush hour time when, and it didn't matter what time it was, but, that was another thing that quelled kind of our decision to do the live thing as much. And, it was good because then we started actually scheduling bigger kind of guests because we couldn't, nail their schedules down with being live at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 5 p.m. in LA.
Right.
And,
you're in the middle of gridlock.
Yeah. Or dinner, or you just got done shooting and you just want to go home and pass out. And, whatever it was, it just the time didn't jive. So,
yeah.
When we stopped going live, that was the better thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Gave us more freedom and stuff that we could do.
Yeah.
But our shows are recorded live. And we're doing web simulcasts of the videos. We're delving into that a bit. And so it's not like we'll do a show and then in post we'll edit out the bad stuff and we'll put in good stuff. And what you hear is what you get. And, that's pretty much it. So.
Well, and I think, in terms of, keeping it real.
Right.
I think that's the way to do it. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, especially with the new technologies and podcasting and whatnot, who actually will sit down and they will completely, they will spend, 1 hour doing a show, and then they will spend 12 or 15 hours in post-production making it just tickety and then putting it out.
Right, but it's all, to me, irrelevant. And don't even get me started on the podcast thing because we don't do that. So that's a huge. That's
I wasn't saying that we
did
that.
I know, but that's the trouble with that. There are so many. It's inundated, and
Well, and that's how we're set so much apart from that.
Exactly. It just, how I feel about that. It just so burns my buttons, though. I gotta say, it really does.
Burns your butt?
It burns that's your
right.
job.
I do that.
Yeah, it burns my buttons, Daddy. Burns my buttons.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because, we had been accused of that early on, And, accused is a strong word.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we were lumped into that category, and they didn't understand that, no, our shows are actually scripted, and we produce our radio shows the same way we would produce a network television show.
Absolutely.
That's what we do, and we just translated it to internet radio.
Yeah.
And, we are the first original, all original, all talk.
And
station.
every 6 months or so, I do another search, and I try to find. It's almost like I dare myself to go out and find another internet radio station that does what we do and does it anywhere near as well. And I can't even find anybody who does what we do.
No, they do. They'll do the music thing and stuff like that, and it's not.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah. Well, forget that they don't have licensing for it. That is something that drives you nuts. I know.
Yeah.
But it's just that's not what it's about.
And even when some of those guys cut in and say, "Oh, that was so and so and so and so, and you're listening to blah blah blah, and here's something or other from Madonna." 9 times out of 10, they don't even have a DJ voice.
Right. Well, that's another thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right.
See, with us, I mean, here's an example. If, a fine example in the studio. This is a show that we've run about a year and a half ago, back to our beginnings,
right?
Because we felt strongly about having a show that was more rooted directly in the music industry, still having that same kind of easygoing interview format. And
right. And it was hosted by Vicky Natali. She was a former Star Search winner.
That was the last one. But I mean, my point is that we didn't just go out and get any fruit bag off Facebook.
Yeah.
We did casting. Okay, and when we come across a talent like Vicky Natali, former 2006 Star Search Grand Champion.
Oh right.
I mean, that's Star Search saying that this person's got talent. So you don't need to tell me anymore. I know this person's got talent. We would have interviews with her, and we would go through the casting process. And when it got to the point where we were comfortable in yeah, this girl's got right personality. She's got a good voice. She can
She's
sing.
going to be reliable.
She's going to be reliable and professional. Let's go with that. I mean, we did that. And then, of course, what was it?
Right.
6 weeks later, she gets an offer to do
She
a reality
does it
TV